Hello there, UE Formatter here, and welcome to part 2 of our tutorial series for the UE4 sequencer. Today we will start animating the whole sequence, so have fun watching. Now go back to your sequence tab. If you accidentally closed it like this, you can always open it by clicking on the sequence actor in the level, and under details click on open level sequence and it is shown again. Need quickly to adjust this guy here because he's stuck in the ground. Forgot to move him up a bit. Alright, this is fine. Next thing we want to do is to add our soldier here to our level sequence because we want to animate him first. Therefore, just click on him and go into your sequencer, right mouse button and click on actor to sequencer, add idle rifle iron sights, and now we can animate him in the sequencer. And as you see here, we already have an animation layer and also a transform layer. The transform layer is related to the location, the rotation and the scale of the actor, because we can animate this as well. And we can also set an animation, which we will do for this guy by clicking on plus animation here. Search for the idle rifle iron sights again and click on the animation. And then a new bar comes up which shows the complete animation here. You can check how the animation looks by dragging and dropping this bar around. And as you see, when we move the bar, the animation plays at the position of your time slider. You can also drag and drop the end of the animation to extend it. And what the sequencer is just doing is to looping the animation when you do so. As you see here, it starts from the beginning, like you see at the start, and then here at the transition point, it also starts from the beginning. That's how you can easily loop your animations via this animation layer. But before we start with the gunfire action, I want to have a small intro that the player gets to know the scene and has time to understand what's going on. When he doesn't and your sequence just plays one quick action shot, the scene is over before your player doesn't even know what just happened. To avoid that, I will add another camera. You can do it either by clicking on this icon here to add a cinematic camera, but I don't like working with the cinematic camera that much, so I delete it here and I will work with the normal camera. So I will place another actor here, type in camera, drag and drop it in your scene, and then when you have selected camera, right click in your sequencer, add to sequencer and add camera actor. I will also delete the camera cut from the previous added camera, and I will change it to our camera actor by clicking on the plus camera at the camera cuts layer, and then under existing binding choose the camera actor, and at the point where your bar is on the timeline, the camera actor will create a shot. For me it starts at 1 second, but I want to have it at 0 seconds here, so I just drag and drop the start of it to 0 seconds, and then we can already start animating it. But what I do in my scenes to make life easier is to click on the camera and right click it and click on pilot camera actor, and then we have the direct view of the camera. So rotate it around like you want. I want to start it in the sky, so this will be our first keyframe here. So align it how you want, and then add a keyframe at this position. For the transform layer, just click on this small dot and it already says add a new keyframe at the current time. When you click it, an icon will appear here, which means that the location, rotation and scale data is saved in this keyframe here. And this is how you animate the whole sequence. You basically set keyframes at specific points at your timeline, and then you define the transform of an actor or any other parameter you want, like the field of view of a camera, for example. When you want to check how your scene looks, don't forget to stop piloting this actor here, because when you do so, and you are on another point at the timeline or at the 0 position, you will change the transform keyframe here again, and then your location will be overwritten and it starts at another point. In our case, the plan is to move the camera from this position down to about here and leave the idle animation of the soldier playing all the time. Therefore, we will go back to the camera, pilot it again, move to the point where the camera should be at this specific time. Let's say at 4 seconds, we want to be above the shoulder of the soldier here. So I just move it down. And as you see in the layer of the transform, there was automatically a keyframe added here because we changed the position of the camera, and all the values which changed from the 0 keyframe to this keyframe will be keyframed automatically. Let's open up the transform layer to go a bit more into details. And like you see here, the location has been set on each axis. For the X, Y and Z axis we have a new location. That's why the keyframes are colored like this. And for the rotation, we only have a change for the pitch and the yaw. That's why we don't have any keyframe for the roll. That's what you need to have in mind when you animate via automatic keyframes, because when you have another keyframes, let's say sometime here, and you change the roll will also be affected at the 4 seconds point, because there was no keyframe set. So if you're sure you want to set the roll, the pitch and the yaw at this exact position, you can click on the keyframe for the rotation again, and then this issue would be fixed. What you also can do is, when you want to affect this for the location and rotation, just close all the tabs and click on this keyframe. And as you see, the color is like our first keyframe, which means that we set a keyframe for all those values, for the location, for the rotation and for the scale. And then when you would be at 7 seconds and change the value again, it will be transferred from the values from this keyframe to our 6 second keyframe, which won't happen when you just rotate the camera, for example, like this. Then you will have this gray dot, which means that only the rotation is keyframed at this specific point. And now we will check the speed of our animation. To play it, you can press either space or click on the play button at the bottom left. There are also some other buttons here to set the sequence to be looped, or you can also reverse the sequence by clicking this button, but I just want to check if the speed of our camera is looking good. Therefore, I move back to 0 on the timeline and click on space. I think the first few seconds are nice, but from this point here it gets a bit too fast. So what I will do is to add a keyframe here for the whole transform layer. And then our third keyframe should be around 6 seconds. So I just click on the transform keyframe and move it to 6 seconds, which gives us a bit more time between those two keyframes. So the camera will move longer. Let's check it again. Yeah, I think we also need to adjust the position for this keyframe. We are still in piloting mode, so I can just change the location to about here. Click on play again, should be quite fast, and then slow down. Yeah, I like this. Next thing I want to add is another camera to rotate at the front here. Then move around the player, and at this point the enemy player should walk out of his cover. So to do this, I will stop the piloting view, then add another camera, drag and drop in your scene, and right click in your sequencer, add to sequencer the camera actor 2. You can also give all those actors names, so just right click on it, click on rename, say cam from sky, and rename the other one cam player. Because when we add several more cameras, it will get confusing with the naming, and then you don't know which layer you should animate. And with the proper naming, you always know which camera to choose and which camera to animate. Then we can start piloting our other camera. Right click, pilot again, and then rotate it to the front view. Let's say around here, and then we will rotate to the left 180 degrees around the player, and then maybe give it a bit of a close shot here, and then the other player will move out of the cover. Good starting point is here. Don't forget to set your first keyframe for the cam player track. I think we need way more time in our scene, so I will adjust the end time of the sequencer scene to 60 seconds, which gives us a minute of cutscene. We'll also set the end time of the cutscene to somewhere at the end. And when you adjust this value here, you adjust the range slider seconds. So if you type in 10 again, the slider will be 10 seconds long. Like you see, it starts at 0, ends at 10. You can adjust this value however you want. Let's say 20 seconds. You will have the 20 seconds of your timeline. You also can drag and drop this bar to view the whole timeline, or you can drag and drop the start or the end point to adjust it back to 60 or whatever value you want. The reason why I've added the keyframe at the exact 6-second mark is because I want to change the camera cuts from our sky cam to our player cam at exact the 6-second mark. And it's better to save the location of the player cam at this point instead to 0-second mark, for example. Creating a cut is pretty easy. Just go to camera cuts, click on camera like we did before, and choose cam player. And it will change the camera at exact the 6-second mark to the other camera actor. The reason why this scene is named camera actor and camera actor 2 is because our cameras are named like this in the scene itself. It still says camera actor, because here we just renamed the camera layer, which doesn't have an impact on the scene naming. If you want to have a look how your camera cuts look together, you can just click on this small cam icon to lock the viewport to this camera cut. And then when you move around, you will have the view of both cameras, like you see here. Just go at 0, start the sequence, and at the 6-second mark, it should switch to the other camera, like it does here, which is perfectly fine. I'll click on pause again, and go to the cam player view by clicking on the other camera to pilot it and start animating it. In case your viewport doesn't play the camera animations, you can click on this small arrow here and click on the Allow Cinematic Control checkbox. If you don't do it, you won't see any animation in your viewport. Let's stop piloting it, click on the Lock Viewport camera button again. And if you play it again, you see that you don't have any camera animation in your active viewport. But if you set the checkbox again, just click the camera cut icon again and hit play, you see that the animation is playing properly. Okay, let's go back to our 6-second cam player keyframe and let's animate the next one. Let's say about 10 seconds. By the way, you can also define the time bar by clicking on this value here and set 10. when you want to jump exactly to that time value. Alright, make sure that you pilot the cam player cam. Click on the icon. Then I will add already a keyframe here. Click on the keyframe and then move at the next position where the camera should move to. Let's say to the side of the player. And then we will also add the next keyframe. Let's do the next keyframe at +4 seconds as well. So we jump to 14. Add a new keyframe, click on it, and then go about 180 degrees behind your player. Out here. And then check your animation. And as you see, the player animation has stopped. So we move the idle animation a bit further. Check the animation again. I think it could be a bit faster, so I move the keyframes about a second back. 9 seconds. Also this here, 12. Then it should be a bit faster. Alright, this looks good. Then we can close those camera details. Also the idle rifle animation. Stop the piloting. And then we will add another camera. And this time I want to attach the camera directly to the assault rifle here. So I click on the right button, attach to, and pick the assault rifle. Click on none. This time we will just change the rotation here. Zero it out. Also zero out the location. Those are the relative coordinates to the assault rifles, by the way. Then we have it exactly at the root bone, and now we can set up the rotation and the location properly. Because I want the camera to be near the barrel and move together with the gun. Maybe a bit here. Also move it back. I think this is a good position. And then go back to your scene. And as you see, this camera here follows exactly the weapon animation. Which is perfect. Then we will just need to add this camera to the sequence as well. And when the shots get fired, I want to switch to this cam here. So the shots will get fired about 13. So we will add a new camera cut with the camera actor 3 here. Let's quickly rename it as well to the cam shots camera. And then go back to the 12-second mark. And we will move over to our other soldier here and add it to our cutscene. Also define the transform keyframe at the 12-second mark. And then this guy should move in about, let's say, 15 seconds. So he has 3 seconds time to go behind the cover. Let's see how it looks. Move him over. Maybe he's a bit too far away from the cover, but we will check this with the other cameras. Move him a bit further. And let's check the speed of him. Oh, okay, we didn't add any animation yet. So we just click on the plus animation button. Search for Jock RT rifle and add it here. I will also drag and drop the end of the animation to, I don't know, maybe around 16. We can adjust it later anyways, just to have the animation from the starting point to the cover point, which works already. Okay, let's check it. It's way too slow. And we have another problem here. Usually the keyframes are set to cubic, and we want to have a linear keyframe here, so I choose linear for this keyframe and also for the other one. Changing it like this means that the interpolation between both keyframes happens with a constant value instead of a smooth transition between both keyframes. You can check this by opening the Graph tab and choose our Jock rifle animation, and you see here a constant transition between both keyframes. Let's set it to the auto keyframe, for example, and you see that you have a smooth transition here and a linear transition here. That's why we choose to have both keyframes to be linear, which fits best to our walk animation of this soldier guy. Then let's check the speed of the animation. Scroll back to our starting point, play it, and as you see, it's way too slow. So I moved this keyframe to around 40, which gives us a way better result. I think we need to move it still a bit further, let's say 1325. Maybe it's too fast. Yeah, it's too fast now. Move it back. I think this looks good. Still a bit back, so I will set the properties. And with the time input field, you can set the exact time where the keyframe should be. So I'll move it to, let's try 14. Yeah, no, that's too much. 1380 maybe. Let's give it a try. Yeah, I think this is the right value here. And at this position, we want to go our enemy soldier into cover. So we need to add another animation here. Let's click on plus animation, choose stand to crouch, rifle hip. Click on it and it will add another animation layer here. And when you have two animations for the same skeletal mesh, it will be an additive animation for the second layer. So what happens here is the system takes this animation and adds that on the top, which means that you can create smooth transitions between both of the animations by overlapping the start point of one animation with the base animation above. Therefore, we just adjust the end time of the base animation and let it overlap a bit with our crouch animation here. Like this. And then he runs at this point and then changes to the stand to crouch animation. I think we need a bit more here. Yeah, it's a bit clunky, but still, it works. Don't want to go too much into details here. Yeah, I think it's good for our purpose because we are far away with our camera. And there's also an obstacle here. Yeah, looks good. So let's go near again. Then extend the crouching time. And after that, don't forget to save everything. And this is it for part 2 of our tutorial series. Thanks a lot for tuning in again. Don't forget to leave a like and a subscription. And hope to see you in the next video. Have a nice day, guys. Bye bye.